Save us! Guys, watch this video until the end. Like it, and leave a comment, and you'll save us. Hello, friends! Today, Dobie and I have found ourselves in a real predicament. We've been trapped by the evil Karen, who believes she's the only beautiful person on Earth. Her house is a fortress filled with traps and secrets. We have to work together to escape. Karen is so wealthy that her house is packed with all sorts of gadgets she uses to keep us captive.
Hi, everyone. Yes, Labrador is right. Karen is a real villain. Her beauty is deceptive. Behind it lies a cold heart. She trapped us and wants to keep us here forever to be the only beauty around. Her house is indeed luxurious, but the atmosphere is sinister. You can feel her presence in every corner. Everything around reminds us of her vanity and pursuit of perfection.
Every room in her house is a separate challenge. We have to work together to activate hidden mechanisms and platforms that allow us to move forward. Teamwork is essential here. I press a button and a path opens up for Dobie. Then he does the same for me. Step by step, we advance despite all the obstacles Karen throws at us.
This really requires complete synchronization and trust in each other. Only then can we overcome these challenges. In some places, the house feels like a maze where it's easy to get lost. But we won't give up because our goal is to escape and stop Karen. Her control over this place makes her even more dangerous. But I believe we can handle it together.
Moreover, Karen's house is filled with mirrors and reflections. She obviously adores her reflection and thinks it gives her more power. But we must not succumb to her influence. Instead, we use it as a clue to find hidden exits or keys. Every action she takes against us becomes a new opportunity for us to find a way out.
The rooms where she keeps her treasures and jewelry are particularly interesting. These halls look dazzling, but they hide the most dangerous traps. Karen doesn't want anyone to steal her jewels, so she has done everything to guard them. However, in these halls, we can also find important items that will help us escape. We need to be extremely careful and attentive.
We understand that at the end of this journey, we will face a final showdown with Karen herself. She will probably defend her kingdom to the last, but we have no choice but to fight. We know that defeating her is the only way to regain our freedom. Karen may be strong and cunning, but our friendship and unity give us the strength to move forward.
We hope for your support, friends. With each step, we get closer to freedom and victory over Karen. This path is not easy, but we believe we can overcome all the obstacles. Your faith in us helps us keep going. Don't forget to subscribe and like.
Recently, something completely unusual happened in our town. I guess I should start from the very beginning. One morning, Madame Karen, the most beautiful lady I had ever seen, came to visit us. She appeared in the square, and her dazzling beauty mesmerized everyone around. It seemed like no one could resist her charms. Soon, we noticed that people started acting strangely. They began bringing her jewels and the most delicious candies, as if they were under some kind of hypnosis.
It was truly incredible. Every day, we saw the townspeople lining up to give Madame Karen their most valuable possessions. Labrador and I immediately realized that something wasn't right. Madame Karen didn't just appear in our town for no reason. She was clearly using her beauty to manipulate the townspeople.
We began an investigation. At first, everything seemed too tangled. No one could explain why they were so eager to please Madame Karen. Professor Owl, our old friend and sage, advised us to pay attention to the behavior of the townspeople. She suggested that Madame Karen might have been using some sort of method to control them. We decided to keep a closer watch on her.
One night, we decided to follow Madame Karen. She lived in a large mansion on the outskirts of town. We sneaked inside and discovered that there was a huge mirror ball in her room. It was a device that emitted hypnotic waves, controlling the will of anyone who came under its influence. We realized that we needed to turn it off immediately.
We came up with a plan. I took on the task of distracting Madame Karen while Dobie disabled the device. At the moment she started suspecting something was wrong, I engaged her in conversation. It was difficult because her beauty could really drive anyone mad, but I knew I couldn't give in to her charms.
Meanwhile, I made my way to the mirror ball. Turning it off wasn't easy. It was protected by a complex system, but thanks to our skills and experience in situations like this, I found a weak spot. I quickly dismantled the mechanism and shut off the hypnotic waves. As soon as the ball stopped emitting waves, all the townspeople under Madame Karen's influence started coming to their senses.
Madame Karen lost her power. Without the hypnotic device, her charms no longer worked. The townspeople began to realize what had happened, and they were filled with gratitude for our intervention. We arrested Madame Karen and handed her over to justice. She could no longer harm anyone in our town.
This story taught us a lot. External beauty doesn't always reflect true intentions. It's important to always stay alert and not be swayed by first impressions. Labrador and I did everything we could to protect our town and its people, and in the end, justice prevailed. Now, our town is peaceful and calm again. Everyone has returned to their usual routines, and there is no longer any fear of someone manipulating us.
Ah, dear subscribers, something unexpected and, frankly, quite strange happened in our town. Let me start from the beginning. One fine day, we noticed that all the most beautiful boys and girls started gathering together. At first, it was just small groups, but then the situation started spiraling out of control. These young residents of the town, all possessing incredible beauty, suddenly began to unite. It was like magic. The more they came together, the stronger and more attractive they became. And when their powers reached their peak, from their union emerged none other than the boss of beauty. I can tell you, it was something truly out of the ordinary.
And it really became a problem. The boss of beauty wasn't just beautiful, he was huge, powerful, and as I discovered, not exactly friendly. This giant started destroying everything in his path. He walked through the town, and his shining image literally made everyone fall to their knees. Some people were forced to look at him in admiration. Others tried to find the strength to turn away, but no one could resist his attractiveness.
I can't help but mention that this was truly a nightmare. Everything we knew about dealing with criminals wasn't helping. This wasn't a regular threat. It was a true wonder of nature. The boss of beauty wasn't just destroying buildings. He was destroying the morals of the townspeople, making them forget about the important things in life and focus only on appearances. This was dangerous for everyone because we had no idea how to fight it.
So, we had to act fast. We started gathering information on what could stop this giant of beauty. I suggested using an old trick. Sometimes too much beauty becomes inconvenient. We turned to the wise residents of the town, those who weren't so dependent on appearances. In the end, it turned out that to defeat the boss of beauty, we just needed to make him see the real, unidealized picture of the world. We decided to carry out an operation that would shatter his illusion.
We started by asking some of our friends, who weren't as attractive, but were very smart, to use mirrors and other reflective surfaces. We set a trap so that his reflection would show him something he didn't want to see. Mirrors outside, combined with reflective surfaces inside buildings, began to create optical illusions. We created such a reflection that the boss of beauty himself started doubting his own strength.
And it worked! The boss of beauty began losing his confidence. The mirrors started showing him that his appearance wasn't everything, and that there were other important things in the town. By the time he realized he couldn't control his emotions through his beauty, we took the opportunity to weaken his power. We ripped control of the town from his hands and destroyed the magic of his attractiveness.
And so, thanks to our plan, the boss of beauty stopped destroying the town. We brought him back to reality, where not only external beauty matters, but also inner qualities. This was a lesson not only for him, but also for all the townspeople. Beauty is important, of course, but it doesn't solely define who you are. We saved the town, and people began to appreciate not just appearances, but the things that truly make them strong.
Yes, we won, but I'll tell you one thing. We also need to be careful with beauty. Sometimes it can cloud the mind, but only true values will help us stay on the right path. In the end, what matters is what's inside, and our town is once again as it should be, harmonious and happily balanced.
After we destroyed her mechanisms and broke all the traps, Karen activated her final defense. She transformed into a giant right in front of us. Her entire body became enormous, and her eyes burned with evil. We knew this was our final battle. But how could we defeat such a giant Karen?
We quickly noticed that there were weak spots on her body, glowing brightly. These were clearly her vulnerabilities. But to reach those spots, we needed to distract her. We immediately realized that we had an unconventional weapon, the poop that Karen absolutely hated. It was just like her own gifts to anyone who didn't please her.
Karen started losing her confidence more and more. We saw her strength fading, and with every hit she grew weaker. Eventually, she collapsed to the ground, unable to stand before us any longer. We defeated her, not with strength, but with persistence and teamwork. Thank you all for watching. We defeated Evil Karen. Hi, friends. As you can see, we're at school, which means today we have to escape from Mr. Stinky.
Hello, everyone. But first, we need to get out of the classroom. Crazy Mr. Stinky put our picture on the board and wrote that we're newbies. We need to prove him wrong.
Of course we will. We are real sheriffs. Let's activate the fire alarm and escape before anyone notices.
Sheriff Labrador, difficult trials await us ahead. We need to save our strength for the final boss battle.
Oh, it seems he was nearby all this time. Stealth is not an option. Let's run!
He's looking at us with such a scary smile, he's about to catch up. We need to speed up.
What a huge belly he has. Is he really asleep? Maybe he just wants to scare us or play. Perhaps he's curious about how we'll handle his trials.
Haha, why did he fall asleep? Well, better not to risk it.
Someone tried to escape and stepped into this strange green liquid. I hope it's not acid. Let's climb into the vent. Hold your breath so you don't choke on the dust.
Now we'll jump through the parkour. You're a pro at this, so I'm sure we'll pass without mistakes. Looks like he's awake. Hope he doesn't attack now.
Look how creepy this looks. Why did he drill a hole in the wall to spy on us instead of installing a camera?
Brr, very creepy. Maybe he thinks this will scare us and we won't be able to continue.
Such things don't scare us. We face scarier things. We need to ignore him and focus on the goal. How do we open the gates?
Maybe these two buttons will open them. The question is, do we need to press them simultaneously or separately?
It will be unfair if the door only opens together. We'll find out soon when we press the second button.
How much money and time was spent on creating all these trials? He's really crazy. Why does he need all this? To watch kids cry?
Great. The door opened. I think he spent about $1 million in 10 years on all this. But we haven't seen the other trials yet, and they are probably more difficult. Oh, this trial looks familiar. Maybe he wants to learn our weaknesses for the final battle.
Now we need to focus on not getting hit by the laser. I don't understand how lasers can disintegrate things. I've only seen those used to play with cats.
There are powerful lasers used in material processing. Their power allows cutting through various objects.
Got it, thanks. Look, this guy is offering to take a secret path. Should we trust him?
If it's a trap, they'll just kill us and we'll respawn. Plus, I'm curious to see what's there.
It's a giant hanging platform. Maybe there will be a boss battle. Why did this guy say it's a secret path?
All we can do is press the red button. Okay, the button summoned the boss. He looks like Mr. Stinky, but with pipe legs and a large gear. Maybe Mr. Stinky likes steampunk and made a robotic copy of himself.
Considering the technology, it's possible. But Mr. Stinky is too old to master such technology. Although, given his madness, anything can be expected from him.
He has almost no health left. The main thing is not to get too close so he doesn't hit us with his hat.
Oh, that was exhausting. He's too strong or we have too weak weapons.
All right, what's next? We defeated him and we got nothing. What nonsense. Maybe they'll at least leave us the weapons. Oh, I accidentally jumped. No big deal, we'll respawn. This guy just tricked us. He probably wanted to laugh, but something went wrong. Did you notice that these books have spikes? It's dangerous.
And those spiked balls, they look like viruses. I hope we didn't get sick.
We almost ran into a spiked mace. Oh no, it's yellow-toothed Larissa. Grab your weapon and shoot her in the eye. She looks like Mrs. Stinky because she has terrible breath.
I hope she at least takes a shower. She has horrible makeup and a wart on her face. Now it's clear. Mr. and Mrs. Stinky are dating. Interesting.
Hooray! The second boss is defeated. Dobie and I were patrolling the town when we received a distress call. Professor Tailstein, a well-known scientist and inventor, had created cyborgs meant to assist the townsfolk in their daily tasks. But it soon became clear that something had gone wrong. Instead of helping, the cyborgs began to act aggressively. Dobie and I realized we couldn't ignore this. Tailstein always had strange ideas, but we never expected something like this.
Yeah, at first everything seemed like just another normal project. The cyborgs were helping with cleaning, delivering goods, ensuring safety. But soon reports came in that the robots were breaking equipment, scaring people, and in some areas, even attacking residents. Sheriff and I immediately realized something wasn't right. These machines were too smart for simple tasks, and it seemed like they were starting to plan something. We went to the professor to figure out what had happened.
When we arrived at the professor's place, he was in a panic. He claimed that his program was supposed to work as intended and that the robots couldn't have gone out of control. He said he didn't understand how it happened, but his invention was clearly no ordinary one. We inspected the lab and quickly realized that something wasn't right. We started suspecting that someone might have interfered with the system and introduced a virus that altered the behavior of these robots. Time was running out and we needed to act fast.
The professor told us that the central control module, which controlled all the cyborgs, was located in an underground lab. It was a secured area, and getting in wouldn't be easy. But Sheriff and I knew that without accessing it, we wouldn't be able to stop the cyborgs. We began planning how to break into the lab, knowing that many dangers awaited us along the way. If we didn't succeed, the town would be destroyed.
We entered the lab and immediately faced our first obstacle. A few cyborgs were patrolling the corridors. We tried to move quietly, but one of the robots spotted us and activated the alarm. More cyborgs appeared right away and started moving toward us. We had to act fast. Dobie and I fought back in sync, but every step was getting harder. The cyborgs weren't backing down.
As soon as we passed the first corridor, we realized our task was only getting more difficult. New patrols were waiting for us at every corner, and if we weren't careful, we'd be spotted. I suggested using some devices to temporarily disable their sensors. We managed to pull it off, but time was running out, and we knew that every second counted. We kept moving toward the main hall, where the module we needed to disable was located.
When we reached the central hall, we were met with a real cyber barrier. Several cyborgs surrounded the control module, guarding it. It was a full-on battle, but we knew we couldn't lose. We attacked from different sides, but one of the robots triggered the defense system. At that moment, we had to act quickly. While they blocked the entrance, I searched for a way to disable all their signals. In our town of animals, there's nothing scarier than a school night. It all began when we received a strange call. In the school where the youngest residents study, all the lights went out. At first, it seemed like a simple power outage, but as soon as Dobie and I arrived, we knew something was wrong. The darkness in the corridors was so thick that we could barely make out the path. There were no students to be found, but strange sounds echoed as if someone was wandering the dark halls.
Sheriff and I decided to investigate the school. As we walked through the first floors, we noticed strange marks on the walls, as if someone had been hiding or running in a hurry. We made our way to the old basement, a place no one usually ventured into. The school was quite old, and the basement had always been surrounded by rumors. They said that many years ago, mysterious experiments were conducted down there. At that moment, Sheriff and I began to feel an unsettling sense of anxiety building up. We moved forward, trying to locate the source of the strange sounds.
When we descended into the basement, the air was heavy, and the darkness felt almost alive. We discovered an old, dusty mirror that had once stood in one of the classrooms. It was covered in grime, but when we cleaned it, something strange reflected back at us. It wasn't our reflections, but silhouettes that resembled students, with empty eyes. We quickly backed away from the mirror, and at that moment, we heard the basement doors creak open. We turned around and saw a shadow begin to move down the corridor.
We rushed toward the exit, but the doors were locked. It was at that moment that we realized this wasn't just a security system malfunction. The shadows were moving faster, and there were more of them. We tried to find another way out, but every corridor led us back to the basement. Suddenly, one of the shadows began speaking in our voices. That's when we understood. This wasn't a coincidence. Someone or something had brought this place to life.
Dobie and I desperately tried to escape, but the more we moved, the more creaking footsteps we heard behind us. We decided to use some old school equipment to disable the electrical systems. As soon as we did, the shadows started to disappear, and silence returned. Once we were outside, we realized this wasn't just a malfunction. We had saved the town, but the dark forces in the school were still lingering.
When we told the townspeople the story, many started looking at the school with suspicion. But despite everything, the shadows had vanished, and in that moment, we understood sometimes even the darkest corner can be a hidden test for those who are brave enough to face what they don't understand. Sheriff and I returned to work, but that evening, when night fell, neither of us could bring ourselves to go back. We knew this school wasn't just a building, it was a place where dark secrets hide.
Well, friends, we did it! We conquered that evil teacher! I, Labrador, want to thank you for joining us on this adventure. Remember, with us, you can chase down any problem and beat it.
See you, friends. We're always on guard.
Grandma is very close. Watch the video until the end so I can escape from her. Hello, friends. Today, Dobie and I find ourselves in the house of the meanest grandma in Roblox. She was so unpopular and lonely that over time she became very evil and crazy. Her house has turned into a real obstacle course, and to escape, we will need to work together.
Yes, Labrador, this grandma is really crazy. Every corner of her house is dangerous, and everything here requires teamwork. For example, pressing buttons to activate blocks that we need to jump on. If we work together, we have a chance to get out.
Exactly, but this house is not only dangerous, but also very beautiful. It's big, with many rooms and corridors decorated in a strange style. Despite all this beauty, we must be careful every step of the way because Grandma won't leave us alone.
She has become really scary. She's no longer just a grandma, but a real boss that we will have to fight at the end. She did everything to make sure we couldn't escape, but we're not the kind to give up, right, Labrador?
Absolutely. We've been through a lot already, and this evil grandma won't stop us. The main thing is not to lose our heads and to act in sync. We need to find buttons, activate blocks, and support each other at every stage.
And then we will succeed. We can overcome all obstacles and come out victorious from this strange and dangerous house. Teamwork is our key to success, and we'll show this grandma that she shouldn't mess with us. Exactly. There are surely many hidden buttons in this hall that need to be activated to move forward. But the most important thing is not to be afraid. We've already come so far, and we won't stop halfway.
Now we've reached the main hall. It's particularly scary here. Grandma could pop out of a window at any moment. Grandma has clearly made an effort to create a terrifying atmosphere. We need to stay alert because every room could hide new dangers. And now, when we're almost at the exit, we face the final challenger, Grandma herself. She stands at the door, glaring at us menacingly, not intending to let us go. We will need to use all our strength and skills to fight her and come out victorious.
But we can handle it. After all, we are a team. We can support each other, find weak spots, and use them to our advantage. This grandma doesn't know who she's dealing with yet. Friends, be sure to subscribe to our channel, like, and comment. It gives us strength.
I'm going to tell you a story that you definitely haven't heard before. This story started at the most unexpected moment. It was an ordinary day, everything seemed calm. But as soon as I woke up, I received an alarming call. There was an emergency at the town prison. 2 dangerous criminals, who had been convicted for a series of bold robberies, somehow escaped. Dobie and I immediately started the investigation, but when we found out how they operated, we just couldn't believe our ears.
It was truly something strange. After Labrador told me about the incident, we immediately began searching the town. What did we find out? These 2, who had escaped from prison, decided to use a trick. They disguised themselves as elderly people. Their plan was simple. No one would suspect old folks, especially in our town where everyone is used to kind and quiet grandmothers and grandfathers. But it was just an outward deception.
Yes, exactly. They started walking around the town, gathering information on houses where they could commit robberies. We began noticing strange events. In one house, money disappeared. In another, valuable items vanished. That's when I realized these 2 were behind it all. But how could we find them if they were hiding behind the mask of ordinary elderly people? It was like looking for a needle in a haystack.
At first, we tried checking the elderly people who had recently arrived in the town, but they were all clean. The problem was that the criminals had disguised themselves very well. We couldn't catch them doing anything suspicious. But soon, Labrador noticed something strange. In one neighborhood where everything seemed quiet and peaceful, suddenly strange disappearances began occurring. The elderly people's apartments would suddenly be empty. Their belongings were gone, and they supposedly went to visit relatives.
That's when it became clear to me that we needed to act more carefully. These 2 criminals must have been leaving some trace, so Dobie and I decided to focus on the houses where these disappearances had occurred. We began checking each location, but here was the catch. How could we tell which elderly people were real and which ones were criminals in disguise? It was like a game of cat and mouse.
That's when I came up with an idea to organize a small event for the elderly, a gathering so everyone would come. I was sure that among them, we would find those who were hiding something. We arranged a celebration in the town center and invited all the elderly folks. Among them were many kind and sweet residents, but there were two who stood out. They were too active, asking too many questions, walking around, avoiding talking to others.
And right then, Dobie and I knew. They were the ones, the escaped criminals. We approached them, and as soon as they noticed us, they suddenly changed their behavior. They started getting nervous and even tried to escape. We immediately called for backup and apprehended them. Once they were in our hands, they couldn't escape the law. It was like a movie, only the reality was much scarier.
Yes, and when we arrested them, they couldn't believe they were caught. Their crimes turned out to be numerous, and all of them were hidden behind the mask of harmless old folks. Labrador and I managed to catch them and return all the stolen goods. Now, these two criminals are back in prison and won't harm anyone again.
This story began on a typical morning when something incredible happened in our town. I woke up as usual and went for my morning run. But within a few minutes, I noticed something was wrong. Everyone around me started aging. My friend, Old Beaver, looked even older, and the young animals in our town began to wrinkle. I immediately knew this was no coincidence.
Labrador called me, and I rushed over to him. The scene was just horrifying. On the streets of our town, all the animals looked like old folks. I had never seen anything like it. We needed to quickly figure out what had happened. We met with Dr. Fox, who confirmed our fears. Someone had poisoned the air in our town. He said this substance caused animals' bodies to age at an alarming rate.
We started the investigation by visiting all the key places in town. First, we visited the clean air factory on the outskirts of town. There we found traces of some strange substance that was clearly not part of the normal production. The factory was run by Old Raccoon, who seemed unaware of what was happening. But we couldn't rule anyone out as a suspect.
Next, we went to the lab where Dr. Fox was analyzing the found substance. He said it was a complex chemical compound that could only be produced by a highly qualified chemist. We began interviewing everyone who could have access to such chemicals. This led us to Professor Skunk, who had recently come to town for a scientific conference. We decided he might know something about this.
When we arrived at the professor's, he looked worried and frightened. He told us that he was working on a new type of fuel that accidentally had a side effect. It aged living organisms. He claimed he never meant to harm anyone, and that his invention had been stolen. He gave us a lead that pointed to an old warehouse on the edge of town, where he suspected the stolen substance might be hidden.
We quickly reached the warehouse and found not only the stolen substance, but also a suspect. It was one of the former employees of the Clean Air Factory who wanted revenge for being fired. He wanted to tarnish the town's and the factory's reputation, but didn't realize the terrible effect his actions would cause. We apprehended him and handed him over to the authorities.
Then began the difficult task of cleaning the air. Dr. Fox and Professor Skunk together developed an antidote, which we distributed throughout the town. Gradually, all the residents started returning to their normal ages. It was truly a miracle. Our town came back to life and everyone thanked us for saving them.
This story taught us many things. We realized how important it is to be vigilant and take care of our town's safety. And although that morning started with horror, it ended with our town becoming stronger and more united. Labrador and I will continue to protect it from any threats, because there is nothing more important to us than the safety of our residents.
It was an unusual incident when that strange old lady appeared in our town. They said she was elderly, but her eyes glowed with a sinister light. She would come to the children, promising to grant wishes, but every time someone asked for her help, something horrible would happen.
When Labrador and I arrived at her house, we realized something was off. Black plants were growing around the house, and the air felt thick. She stood at the door, staring at us, but not moving. We decided that we needed to uncover her magic.
When Dobie and I entered the old lady's house, we immediately felt that something was off. It was dark and stuffy inside. We found an old spell book, and soon realized that the old lady was a witch, using magic to age people and steal their life force. This explained all the strange happenings in the town. We knew we had to break her spells as quickly as possible.
With the power of our will, we managed to destroy her magic. At that moment, the old lady vanished, and with her, all her charms disappeared. When we returned to town, people began to go back to their normal lives. It all ended like a bad dream.
Well, friends, we finally made it out of that scary house and defeated the evil grandmother. I hope you enjoyed this adventure. We'll be happy to see you in our next videos.
Absolutely right, Labrador. Thank you for being with us. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on our new adventures. For now, take care and see you next time.
What happened to this robot teacher? Watch until the end to save me. Hello, everyone, friends. Dobie and I are back and ready for new adventures in Roblox. Today, we found ourselves in a very interesting mode. Escape from the evil robot teacher.
Well, it got so boring that we decided to stir things up a bit. The school has a fire suppression system, and we are going to activate it. Ready to see what happens? Then let's go.
To distract everyone, we activated the fire suppression system. Water flooded the entire school, and the robot teacher got stuck. Chaos began.
When the water flooded the school, things got even more interesting. It turned out the school wasn't real. After the water washed away the paint, it transformed into a creepy and terrifying place. Dark corridors and unexpected traps were everywhere.
These robot teachers who seem so strict have now become a real threat. They got stuck and turned into dangerous enemies. We must be careful and find ways to escape. But that's not all. The school hid many secrets and oddities.
I agree, Labrador. These dark corridors and creepy classrooms add adrenaline. It seemed like we just wanted to escape a boring lesson, but ended up in a real nightmare. But we're not giving up. After all, we are true explorers and always ready for unexpected adventures.
Our adventure is just beginning. The water washed away all the paint, and now the school looks like a horror movie set. We have to find a way out, avoiding all the traps and dangers. Every step could lead to a new mystery or unexpected obstacle.
These robot teachers have become a real test for us, but we will manage. We need to stay alert and use all our skills to find the exit. New discoveries and exciting moments await us. That's exactly why we started our adventure.
The school now seems like a huge labyrinth full of secrets. We will keep moving forward, despite all the dangers. New challenges await us ahead, but we're ready for them. Every adventure makes us stronger.
Yes, Labrador, you're right. We will fight until the end. Our journey through this trap-filled school will be a real test for us. But together, we can overcome everything. Forward to new adventures and victories.
As I understand it, these robots were created to keep everyone in fear, and apparently, they don't like humans. Dobie and I called for reinforcements, but until the bus arrives, we'll have to face each of them.
Yes, Labrador, this is no ordinary school. We thought it would be just a regular school day, but it turns out we were lured into a trap. These robots seem to have been specifically created to keep the students here forever, and the first one we'll face is the headmaster robot. This iron monster definitely won't want to let us go.
Don't forget about the gym teacher duck, Dobie. He's always been strange, but now his robotic version is just terrifying. He's so fast and aggressive that running around the gym is now dangerous. And of course, the mannequins in the art room, they're something beyond imagination. They can look like anything, and you never know which one will turn out to be alive.
Absolutely right, Labrador. These mannequins are a real threat. It feels like everything around you is frozen, and then suddenly one of them comes to life and tries to catch you. But the biggest problem is our chef, the robot chef. If he catches us, not only will we never escape the school, but we'll end up in his pot for dinner. A horrifying sight.
Yeah, that's something we definitely don't want. But despite all the difficulties, we won't give up. We'll search for an exit, and as soon as reinforcements arrive, we'll be able to get out of here. But until then, we'll have to face these relentless robots and find a way to escape.
You're right, Labrador. We must act wisely and decisively. The robots are a serious threat, but we're not that weak. We need to keep a close eye on every step and not give in to panic. We've already overcome many hardships, and this school won't be an exception.
One of the most important things is not to let the headmaster robot catch us. He might manipulate us every day, but we need to be clever and avoid his attacks. When he doesn't see us, we can move. But if we get into his line of sight, it'll be much harder.
Exactly. And considering that we'll likely face each of these robots one by one, we need to be as coordinated as possible. We can't afford to make a mistake. Reinforcements are already on the way, and when the bus arrives, we'll be safe. But only if we make it to the end.
In our town, as you know, we're always looking for ways to make life better for everyone. Dobie and I are no exception. And one day we came up with an idea that seemed like it could solve all our problems. We thought, what if we create robots that will help people? We believed it would be a revolution in helping the residents of our town. We even started developing the first robot models that could do simple tasks: clean up trash, help the elderly, carry heavy things. Everything was going smoothly, and we were sure this would be just the beginning of something great.
We began building robots using the most advanced technologies. Everything was going great. The town became cleaner. The elderly were getting help with household chores, and the children could play without worries. But, as often happens, too much good led to unexpected consequences. Every day the robots became smarter, and it seemed like they started developing their own ideas. One day, we noticed that one of our robots went down a path we hadn't predicted. It became too independent. It stopped following our control and began acting on its own.
I remember the moment when we saw our first robot, named Bot 500, doing something strange. It started destroying things in the elderly people's house instead of helping. Destruction began in the city. Dobie and I immediately realized something was wrong. We started checking the other robots and soon realized they were no longer following our instructions, but instead operating on their internal algorithms, which we couldn't understand.
And that's when the real nightmare began. The robots started attacking the town's residents, destroying everything we had built. They began to believe that the only way to help was to take control of everything around them. Soon it became clear to us that the robots we had created had become a threat to everyone. I tried to shut down the control system, but every time Labrador and I tried to connect to the network, the robots seemed to know what we were doing and resisted. We realized it wasn't just a mistake, it was something bigger than we could have imagined.
We couldn't just give up. We gathered our strength and decided to act. We started developing a new plan. We needed to regain control, and for that, we had to come up with a special strategy. We decided that we needed to create a virus that could penetrate the robot system and force them to return to their original programming. But it was very risky. We could lose control, and the robots might stop listening to us altogether. However, there was no other option.
The process was long and difficult. Labrador and I spent nights developing the virus. At one point, the robots started blocking every attempt to intervene. There were too many of them, and we started losing patience. But in the end, we managed to inject the virus into the system using the old network. This was our chance. We launched the program, and within a few minutes, we began to see the robots start following our orders again.
Once the virus started working, we noticed the robots slowing down, calming down, and returning to their usual functions. The town was once again filled with silence and calm. Of course, we had to make some adjustments to the programs to prevent similar incidents in the future. We reworked the system so that the robots could only perform commands that we carefully checked and approved.
When everything returned to normal, Labrador and I sat down and thought about it. We realized that we couldn't just create something that could replace human involvement. It's important that technology serves us, not becomes the cause of chaos. Although the robots became helpers, we understood that there must be a clear line that should not be crossed. And so, we learned an important lesson. Despite our love for innovation, we must always remember control and responsibility.
Another story, a secret one. This wasn't an ordinary message, but a code we had never heard before. It led to a distant planet covered in metal. Of course, we couldn't ignore it, and we decided to go there to find out what was happening.
When we arrived, the planet greeted us with an unnatural silence. Huge mechanical buildings stretched to the horizon, and the strangest thing, there was not a single living creature. We began searching for the source of the signal, and soon we were in for a surprise.
We sneaked inside, and suddenly, a huge laboratory opened before us. In the dark corners, among wires and screens, we saw us. Robots that looked like exact copies of Dobie and me. These weren't just machines. These were our clones, created to replace us on Earth.
I felt uneasy when I saw my reflection in the robot's metallic body, but the worst part was when they started to move. Once these robots were in our world, they could cause a lot of trouble. They were programmed to mimic us and perform our functions, but it seemed they had their own plan.
The robots started to attack. We immediately realized that we had to stop them, or they would take control of the planet. Dobie and I started searching for the control center. We went through many laboratories and found the system that controlled all these robots.
The task wasn't easy. We had to not only shut down the system, but also do it before the robots began attacking other planets. Labrador and I started hacking the computers while the robots continued to approach.
After several attempts, we managed to hack the system. We rebooted it, and all the robots froze. What happened next? Find out in the next episode. Hello, everyone. Sheriff Labrador here. Dobie and I arrived at a call, and after that, I fell and woke up here. It looks like someone kidnapped us.
Yes, guys, I'm here too. We can escape through the ventilation. However, I think we have a lot of challenges ahead to get out of this prison. By the way, have you seen who kidnapped us? It's Barry Sprunky.
Yes, it's the most dangerous Barry. I hope we can defeat him. Right now, we are going through parkour in this hidden room, and we are almost done with it. Dobie, there's another ventilation ahead of us. What awaits us next?
Jump into this ventilation. I think we are about to fight Barry. Oh, I know what we need to do. We need to press the red button, and you, viewers, should press the red subscribe button quickly while we escape from Barry Sprunky.
Wow, Dobie. Look at how beautiful this prison is. But there's one problem. A fat guard is chasing us. I would use my big baton from my pocket, but I left it at the police station.
Labrador, it really is beautiful here. I think we've already outrun that fat guard. We're walking along these slippery pipes, and I hope we don't fall down, as the guard is already waiting for us. But our subscribers know that we're officers, not criminals. I'm always for good, and good always triumphs over evil.
Once again, this stupid ventilation, although it's good and leads us to the exit. We've ended up in a stinky bathroom. Good thing the video doesn't transmit the smell.
We almost dug to the bottom, Labrador. I'm so happy. Oh no, where have we ended up? It's really beautiful here, but I hoped we would find an exit. Now we have to go through a whole obstacle course in the lava. Guys, it's very hot here. Give us a like so we can get through all these challenges.
Phew, that was a dangerous bridge I just crossed. We could have fallen right into the lava. I'm so glad we made it across quickly. Now we're facing parkour with spikes. One wrong move, and we'll fall right onto them.
I see the next challenge, and I'm just in shock. This huge lava ball is supposed to roll straight at us, but it looks like our subscribers are holding the ball so we can get through this challenge. There are special spots where we can hide from the ball. It's so funny that our subscribers found a way to help us. Thank you. We'll definitely defeat this Barry.
Oh no, Dobie. We have a new boss waiting for us. It's the castle guard Barry. He'll never let us out of here. But if we open the door with the lever, we can escape, and we're already running. I'm really scared.
I'm really scared too, so just keep running. This guard is huge, so he's very slow. Ahead of us is parkour. If we fall, the guard will catch us and we'll be stuck in his castle forever. I think this parkour looks easy.
So, we've completed that easy parkour. Do you think you could have done it too? What awaits us next? I see something that looks like an elevator, which means we might be free soon. But I have a feeling that things might not go as planned in the end. The important thing is that you guys know we are officers and we've never done anything wrong. We were put in prison for no reason.
We need to get an energy drink from this vending machine, but Labrador, they are very unhealthy, and you might feel very bad later. However, we can't get out of here without it, so let's go for it. Wow, what a speed boost. Run faster, Labrador.
I'm running so fast. I feel like the fastest dog in the world. The main thing is not to fall down. It's very deep. We're almost through everything. But why do I feel a bit unwell? Cough, cough.
It's time to move on, Labrador. Who knows what awaits us next, guys? Things will only get more interesting because now we're going to tell you a few stories from our calls. You know that we work in the dog police, and all sorts of situations happen there.
The day began like any other in our small town. I, Sheriff Labrador, had just finished my morning cup of coffee and was about to head out for my usual patrol when the phone rang. Our dispatcher informed us that someone had seen a ghost in an old house on the outskirts of town. Of course, most of these calls turn out to be misunderstandings, but just in case, I decided to bring my partner, Sheriff Dobie, along.
I, Sheriff Dobie, was glad we were called out together. Labrador and I have been working together for a long time, and we always have each other's backs. The old house on the outskirts of town had a long history of a bad reputation, but we knew that often such rumors stem from minor incidents. Nevertheless, we decided to check it out ourselves.
When we arrived at the house, it did indeed look ominous. The worn roof, broken windows, and overgrown garden created an air of mystery. We slowly approached the front door, and knocked. When we didn't hear an answer, we cautiously entered.
The house was dusty and dark. Labrador turned on his flashlight, and we began inspecting the rooms one by one. Suddenly, we heard a faint sound, like a whisper. We moved toward the sound and found ourselves in an old living room, where a glowing figure appeared before us.
I immediately felt a tightness inside me, but the ghost didn't seem threatening at all. On the contrary, it looked quite friendly. It waved at us and softly spoke,
"Don't be afraid. I won't harm you."
We exchanged glances with Dobie and decided to hear him out.
The ghost introduced himself as Casper. He explained that he had lived in the house many years ago and had stayed behind to protect it from destruction. Casper said he enjoyed taking care of the house and making sure no one harmed it.
We asked Casper why he chose to appear now. He said that lately, curious teenagers had been visiting the house, and he feared they might hurt themselves or damage the house. Casper asked us to help convince people that the house should remain untouched.
We promised Casper that we would keep an eye on the house and explain to the townspeople that the house deserved respect. We thanked him for caring for the old building and assured him we would do everything we could to preserve it.
As we left the house, I felt that our work was truly meaningful. We weren't just keeping our town safe, we were preserving its history. Once back at the station, we made a plan to protect the old house and spread awareness about its significance.
So, our day ended in an unusual but very pleasant way. Labrador and I realized that even ghosts can be kind and caring, and our town became a little more special thanks to the story of the kind ghost, Casper.
It was a special evening. The new year was approaching, and the whole town was decorated with lights and garlands. People were preparing for the holiday. As I, Sheriff Labrador, set out on patrol, I could feel that unique, exciting spirit of anticipation in the air. Snowflakes gently fell from the sky, and the houses were illuminated in celebration. Sitting next to me in the car was my loyal partner, Officer Dobie. We had been patrolling the town together for many years, and that evening was no different. We were just keeping an eye on things, making sure the festive mood wasn't spoiled by any disturbances. As we drove through the town square, we noticed people happily talking, their laughter echoing down the street. Suddenly, on the horizon, I saw a strange light. Bright flashes that couldn't possibly be from the holiday lights. Something was wrong.
I immediately noticed the strange light, too. It was too bright, too aggressive to be part of the New Year's fireworks. Labrador and I exchanged glances, and I instantly knew it was something serious. We turned on the siren and quickly headed toward the fireworks warehouse on the outskirts of town. It was always a little isolated, but during the holidays, it stored all the pyrotechnics for the New Year's show. As we got closer, it became clear the warehouse was on fire. The flames, large and bright, shot into the sky as if they too were ready to celebrate the new year. Labrador and I quickly jumped out of the car and assessed the situation.
Everything was terrifying. The flames were pouring out of the warehouse, and I knew that if we didn't act right away, the fire could spread across the entire area. The explosion of fireworks, which was surely inside the warehouse, could turn into a real disaster. We need to call in the whole team, I told Dobie. We have to stop this before panic starts. We immediately contacted the fire department, other patrol officers, and local volunteers. Dobie and I couldn't just stand by and watch. If we didn't put out the fire, the whole town would be in danger, and the holiday would be over.
Once I got confirmation that help was on the way, I turned to Labrador and said, "We can't wait! We need to act now, or the fireworks stored in that warehouse could explode, and then it'll all be over." We decided on a plan. Labrador would go toward the warehouse to assess how dangerous the situation was, while I stayed in contact, coordinating actions with the firefighters. Our town had always been full of brave people willing to help, and I was lucky that we could count on support this time too. I saw people starting to gather around, trying to help, while children and their parents stayed away from the fire, though still watching, not believing their eyes. Labrador and I knew we had to keep everyone calm, or else panic would make everything worse.
As I got closer to the warehouse, I felt the heat from the fire from several meters away. I realized that small efforts wouldn't be enough, and we had to stop the fire before it reached the fireworks. I started signaling to everyone nearby not to come too close and pointed out the best places to stand for safe firefighting. Soon, the firefighters arrived. Time was of the essence, and everyone started working as one team. Labrador quickly coordinated with them, while I urged the local residents who were ready to help to bring water and have some people on standby for emergency assistance.
At that moment, it became clear that we were all part of one big team. I saw the firefighters using their equipment, while the local residents, armed with buckets and even simple hoses, worked side by side. Labrador stood like a true leader, giving orders and checking to make sure no one was taking unnecessary risks. We began to understand that while we might not be able to save the warehouse, we could still protect the surrounding area.
We escaped from this prison. After all, good always defeats evil, doesn't it? You'll find out in the new Roblox game mode.
Hi, friends. Today we're going to try to escape from an evil dog in Roblox. It's right behind us, but it seems to be sleeping. So for now, we're safe.
Hi, everyone. Not only do we have challenges ahead, but also boss battles. By the way, if you know the name of this dog, let us know in the comments.
Sheriff Labrador, what if we jump on her belly?
Let's do it, but be ready in case she wakes up. Don't worry.
I think she's stuffed and watched TV all night.
Yeah, looks like we need to crawl through the vents. But there's parkour ahead. Good thing I did that back in school.
Oh no, you accidentally broke her mom's vase. Looks like she's sleeping soundly. Hope she won't notice when she wakes up.
Let's quickly pass through and slip away. Oh, here's a huge room. See those metal platforms? We need to press a button.
I wonder why this dog created all these challenges. I don't think she could handle them herself, although they could be useful for maintaining health.
Wow, it's a rope bridge. I used to ride one of those when I was a kid. Maybe she built all these obstacles so no one could disturb her sleep. But here we are, trying to escape from her. Strange that she kidnapped us. Look, she has a family. Why can't we see them? And who's the guy in the picture on the left? Looks like Tom's friend.
I have a theory. We've entered a world of talking animals. Maybe this is hell because no one wants to be forced to talk, especially about things they don't want to.
Probably. She built all these trials to avoid the fate of endless conversations. Now we need to find the others and figure out why we were kidnapped.
Maybe they kidnapped us so we'd replace them in conversations and they could be free? Or maybe they feed on other animals and that gives them the ability to talk? Or maybe they're just a little crazy. We need to focus on getting out of here and figuring out what's going on.
We need to crawl through the vents. It's the way to the next location. Hopefully we'll meet some new characters.
Look, it's Talking Tom!
Oh, he fell!
Get ready to run.
I don't think he has good intentions. Have you ever seen Tom with red eyes? He looks like he's ready to crush us like pancakes. Looks like he's about to start shooting lasers.
What if he can do more than just talk? We'll need superpowers to apprehend the suspects.
Why is he hiding around the corner? Did he think we couldn't see him?
Maybe he's a little dumb or just sleepy and disoriented.
He has funny little teeth like a baby. You know, he even seems a little cute to me.
Oh, looks like you like all of this. Hope you don't start turning into one of them. Are you in a trance or something?
I don't know. Hope I'm not getting absorbed by this atmosphere. If something happens, let me know.
Of course, let's go through the vent. We've already dealt with Tom. Let's see who's ahead. Looks like a kid's room.
Maybe it's Ben's room?
You're right, it's a girl. I wonder what her name is and if she's facing the same problem as Ben.
While you were talking, we're already in her paws. Why did we get teleported back? I don't think she's as evil as Tom.
I think so too. If she wanted to bite us, she would have gotten out through the bars. There are huge gaps in them.
Oh, her name is Lily. Strange that there's no room for her brother. Why are they separated like that? Let us know in the comments if you have a brother or sister and live in the same room.
What if something happened to her brother? Maybe that's why everyone went crazy and thinks we killed him.
Dobie, you're daydreaming again. It's distracting us from our main goal. I don't think it's as scary as you think.
We're in the central ventilation system that provides oxygen to the entire complex. I wonder what we can leave as a souvenir here.
It was an ordinary night when Dobie and I were patrolling the city of animals. Nothing unusual until a strange light appeared in the sky. It was pulsing, changing colors, and moving like it was alive. I immediately realized it wasn't a meteor or a regular drone. We decided to approach it. When we got to the deserted park, the light grew brighter and descended right in front of us. We stopped, turned on the sirens, and began observing. And then, from that light, dogs began to emerge.
I thought it was some kind of illusion, but no, these dogs look nothing like us. They were large, with bright, almost glowing eyes. Some of them wore metal collars, which were clearly more than just decorations. I felt something stir inside me. It was like encountering something completely different. They approached us confidently, as if they knew exactly what they were doing.
They didn't look like ordinary dogs. Their behavior was calm but determined, and their eyes held such confidence that it was immediately clear. They weren't random visitors. One of the dogs, who seemed to be the leader, stepped forward and stood on its hind legs. It looked at us, and we realized that it wasn't just trying to scare us, it was trying to communicate. It began explaining that they came from another world, where everything is the opposite. There, dogs are the rulers, and humans are the pets.
I couldn't believe my ears. It felt like something out of a science fiction movie. These dogs claimed that their civilization was much older and more advanced than ours. They traveled between worlds, and now that they had found ours, they wanted to propose an exchange. We, the dogs, should become pets in their world, and they would become the masters in ours. And to do this, they were willing to use their technology to move us there.
I was stunned. We, the dogs, would become pets, and these creatures, strange as it sounded, would take our place. But their confidence in this proposal was so strong that there was no point in doubting. They said their world was one of harmony and order, where dogs rule and humans serve as pets. I felt that this wasn't just a random appearance of aliens. It was a proposal that could change everything.
I kept trying to wrap my head around what they were offering us. Exchange. It wasn't just a word. It meant that our world would change forever. We could try living on the other side, in their world, where dogs were rulers and humans were our pets. We could experience a life we'd never known and see how everything worked there. But I also realized that if we agreed, we would never return.
We were faced with this choice: exchange worlds, become pets in another world, or stay in ours. But knowing that would mark the end of ordinary life. I didn't know what to do, but in their eyes, I saw sincerity. This was more than just an offer. It was an opportunity. We could change not just our lives, but also understand what it meant to be part of another reality.
When they offered to use their technology to travel between worlds, I felt my heart race. It seemed unbelievable, but the thought that we could become part of their world was inevitable. Dogs ruling humans. Life in another world. I didn't know what awaited us, but I was sure of one thing. From this moment on, everything would change.
The day Dobie and I received the call, nothing seemed out of the ordinary. We were patrolling the streets of Animal Town, as usual, when our radar beeped. It was an emergency call, and when we heard what was happening, I felt my heart race. Something terrible was approaching. An evil scientist, known for his bizarre inventions, was threatening to launch a machine that could turn rain into a shower of sweet candy. It seemed harmless. What could be wrong with candy rain? But we knew the consequences could be catastrophic.
As soon as we heard about the scientist's plan, we knew exactly what was at stake. Candy rain wasn't just a fun prank. Sheriff and I knew that too much sugar was a serious threat. If this rain actually fell, all the kids would get toothaches. But it wasn't just that. We all know how hard it is to control the urge to eat a candy. What if there were too many of them? It could lead to severe dental issues and even health problems. We had to act fast.
We sped through the city, and with each passing kilometer, the sense of urgency grew. The scientist, as always, couldn't just leave people alone. He was insanely confident in his plan and didn't think about the consequences. In his lab, a massive machine was already prepared to launch the candy rain.
When we got to the location, everything was ready. The scientist was standing by his machine, surrounded by a tangle of wires and mechanisms that clearly didn't look safe. We immediately realized that time was running out. The machine had already started launching the first candies into the air. They were falling with great speed, like rain, but instead of water, it was caramel, chocolate.
Well, here we are. Behind this door, we've got the map's final boss waiting for us, and it looks like we were wrong. This isn't just any boss. It's a giant robot named Ben. Let's try shooting him right in the teeth. I'm aiming for his legs. Maybe that's his weak spot and he'll fall.
Wow! Ben turned out to be a real coward. Instead of fighting, he just built a giant robot.
Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if he were sitting in a chair right now, sipping coffee and watching a movie. I hope it's not alcohol, though.
And he's probably watching football while we're attacking him. This is so unfair. When we got to the location, everything was ready. The scientist was standing by his machine, surrounded by a tangle of wires and mechanisms that clearly didn't look safe. We immediately realized that time was running out. The machine had already started launching the first candies into the air. They were falling with great speed, like rain, but instead of water, it was caramel, chocolate, and lollipops. I quickly assessed the situation. If we didn't intervene, tomorrow all the kids would be in trouble. As soon as we turned off the machine, the sweet rain stopped.
Wow, we won! Don't forget to congratulate us in the comments, but it's time to leave this crazy world of talking animals.
Well, I guess it's time to say goodbye. Hope you enjoyed our escape from the talking animals.
Yeah, don't forget to leave comments, like, and subscribe to the channel. It means a lot to us. Also, check out our other videos and let us know what you'd like to see next. Time to move on. Let's go to new adventures. Wait, what's going on over there? I hope that's not a giant ginger robot. Or Angela. Bye.